How's it going, everybody? Today's video is going to be about changing the crankcase bearings. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to use a different technique of getting the bearings out than I have been doing. The way I've been getting them out in the past is by using a gas torch and heating the crankcase up enough for the bearings to fall out. But the last one I did, it was this one right here. I marked it. When I changed the bearings in this one, then the next time I took it apart, when I pulled the crankshaft out, the inner bearing came out with the crankshaft, and it shouldn't do that. The bearing should stay in the crankcase. And then when I went to put it back in, it just slid right into place. So that bearing was, the outside race of that bearing was spinning inside the housing. So I ended up replacing the housing. So I don't know if that was due to me using the gas torch to get it out with, or did something else happen there. But I decided to try a different way of getting them out, a way that I can heat it up more evenly. And I already had this motor apart a while back and cleaned it and looked at it. And the reason I say the bearings are bad is because when I was running it, it would leave a oil line on the top part of the chassis. So it's slinging oil out, and also that bearing, the inside bearing, is really rough. And this motor don't have any. This is actually the RCR modified engine, and it doesn't have much runtime on it. And I'm kind of thinking what happened is, when I was doing that rink speed challenge, I was running trying different fuels, which I normally don't do. I normally just use one fuel, but I normally run 20% nitro. Well, I wanted to try 30% VP, so I used that, and then I got me some. Then I always wanted to try some Traxxas fuel, 33%, and I ran that in it. So I'm thinking doing that my bearings didn't like that, so I'm not going to be switching fuels anymore. I'm just going to be sticking with the Traxxas. I mean, not the Traxxas, but the VP 20% nitro and 14% oil, because I have real good luck with that on the bearings. The bearings last pretty good. And the main problem with this motor I was having was it's blowing glow plugs. About every tank or two fuel run through it, it'll blow a glow plug. And I probably done replaced like 7 glow plugs in this thing, and I don't have any on my other engine. I don't ever have any glow plug problems. So it's just this engine for some reason. And also what I noticed, I know when the piston is at top dead center, it always has a little bit of free travel right here, free movement. Well, this one seemed like there's more than usual. I mean, it's always a little bit right there, but this one, I don't know, it just feels kind of odd. So I don't know, maybe the connecting rod stretched on it. I don't know if that could be causing that. So I think I'm gonna put a new connecting rod in it and a new bearings and see what that'll do. This is probably gonna be, I'm probably gonna edit this video because I don't think I can sit here the whole time and make one long video. Because I gotta go feed cows here. The sun comes up. And I got ahead of myself. Normally how I get these sleeves out, I know a lot of people use the zip ties, but I actually use, if you get the right size zip tie with the right size head on it, this will fit in the exhaust port. So I put it in, I go in this way and stick it in the exhaust port, and just hold it in there with my finger. And then just push it out. Like so. I mean, it works if the sleeve isn't. That only works if the sleeve comes out without much effort. But I think the piston and sleeve is good. Because it starts getting tight about right there. Right there you can feel it. You can feel it wedging. So I don't think the piston and sleeve are the problem. I don't think the piston sleeve is the problem of the glow plug going out, because that's the main reason. The main problem with this engine is blowing the glow plugs. And I already marked the, already got my knife, I already marked the, where the carburetor goes. So when I go back together, I don't have to be guessing at it. I want to take the screw all the way out. I want to take the pinch bolt all the way out because it has the plastic in the lock nut. So when I heat it up, I don't want to damage that plastic in there. But yeah, that one block, when I took the crankshaft out, that bearing came off with the crankshaft, and it shouldn't do that. But this bearing, this inner bearing, is definitely not smooth anymore. I mean, it's all together and everything, but I want to be extra careful with this block, just for the reason that it has the marking RCR modified on it. I think that's pretty cool. Nobody asked you. And really the way I decided to try to get these bearings out, I bought me a little oven. I'm not sure, it says it's a, what is it? My mini oven. And I'm going to use this just to get the bearings out of the block with. It says it's a 400 watts, 5.5 by 6 wire rack. Temperature, this is kind of, it says temperature dial up to 450. Well, on the oven itself, it only shows 350, so I guess that's a misprint. One of them is misprinted. But that's the reason I wanted to make this video, is because I want to see if this oven is going to work to get the bearings in and out with. And last night, I just got this yesterday, and last night I stuck this old block in here, or crankcase. It don't have no bearings or nothing in it, but I just wanted to get an idea where I need to set the temperature knob at. And once I found the spot it needs to be, I marked the knob on it. And this oven does get hot on top. And I got my old dirty, the oven glove. And I noticed the socket that fits the flywheel nut, it also goes through the rear bearing and contacts the front bearing. So I'm going to use that to, once I heat it up, I'm going to knock it out with that. And then hopefully I can just, hopefully that inner bearing will just fall out. And then I'll probably stick it back in the oven and get it back up to temperature before I try to put the other bearings back in there. But I've already washed this. It needs to be washed, get all the oil and nitro and grease or whatever out of it. I washed it with Dawn soap and water. And I got all the plastic, all the O-rings out. Anything that, so all this here is just the crankcase and the bearings. Everything else has been removed. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick her on in there. I should have got it. I should have timed it. Figured how long it took. But yeah, if anybody has any suggestions on why the glow plug is blowing out on this particular engine. I even RCR modified, they either had two 0.2 or 0.1 millimeter head shims, and I even went back to the factory setting of 0.3. So I added a head shim, and that seemed to help a little bit. And also I richened up the low speed a little bit, which seemed to help a little bit, but it's still blowing glow plugs. Well, that ought to be good right there. Alright, so here goes the first attempt, and burn myself. look like it's hot enough yet. So I'm gonna stick it back in there. This should just fall right out of there. On these temperature guns, you get different readings, and I don't remember what it was now. The max temp I got there was 213. I was kind of guessing that I was going to try to get it at 210, but I think it was about 210 a while ago, and it didn't. The bearing didn't fall out, so I'm going to go a little bit. 210. So I may try to get it up to about 220. I'm trying to figure out what temperature does it take to where the bearings come out, so I don't have to, overheat these blocks when I'm doing this. Heat them as little as possible. It was about 218 right there. From 215 to 218. Now I'm pretty much on, right now I'm on this 250 degree mark. And I made this deal right here. I think this is a bushing for like a steering shaft or on a riding lawnmower that came off of a wheel, maybe a bushing for a front wheel or for a steering shaft. I don't remember, but I had one left over after I did a job, and it fits that inner bearing really well. So I use this to press the bearings in. So I'll always heat them up to get the bearings out. Then I would let it cool down. Then I would press the bearings in with this setup. Still 218. Okay, now we're about 226, 225, 226. And that's not enough. So I'm going to crank it up some more. So we know 225 is not enough. We actually had some snow. I live in central Texas, and we actually had some snow, which is very rare for this area. Looks like it's just a dusting though. It ain't much out there. I don't even know if it's snow. It may be sleet. Oh. Now it's 248 degrees. So I'm thinking it's going to come out now. Come on, don't you fall out. At about 250 degrees, I was able to tap the front bearing out. But it was still slightly tight in there, so I think what did I say? $250. So I may try to get it around 260, 270 maybe. So I was thinking about 210, but looked like that was not even close. Because when I was used to use a torch, I used to use this and kind of keep a general idea of how hot I was getting that crankcase. And I thought I used to always get about 210 and they'd fall out. So it looks like I was probably getting a lot hotter than I thought I was. Getting close. The thing about that inner bearing, there's no way to tap it out. There's no, you can't get too to the edge of the bearing. So it pretty much just has to fall out of there. All right, we're 260, so let's try that. Nope. So I'm going to try to get to 270. And then I'm going to write it on my mini oven somewhere at what temperature it comes out. And when you tap these blocks on something, you want to make sure it's something like a piece of wood or something that's not going to damage the crankcase. Well, it says 280. I want that thing to come right out of there. And just for the people that never messed with an oven out there before, whatever comes out of the oven's hot, so be very careful when you're handling. And read the warning labels on your mini oven. Think about going to 300 degrees with it. The front bearing feels smooth. Like I said, it was slinging out oil. Okay, we're right at 300. So what am I doing? But I can hear that bearing, that inner bearing. It's real rattly, like it's a lot of, like it's on the verge of coming apart. Let's see what the top of this oven is. 226 degrees. <clears throat> 308. Once you know the temperature, it wouldn't, what temperature it needs to be at. Then it shouldn't take too long. Whoa. It says 360. There it goes. I was able to just catch that inner bearing with and pushed it out. I wish I would have tried that earlier. So I got it up to like 360 degrees, so around 350. Now, should I let it cool off or just push those bearings in there? Oh. I'm going to use this to check the oil hole, make sure it's make sure nothing's stopping it up. Oh wait, I don't have the bearings. Okay guys, I'm gonna have to stop the video here because I should get the bearings today. I thought I had some bearings, but I looked last night and I didn't find any. So look around about 250 degrees, the inner bearing will push out pretty. No, what was it? I need to write that down. It was about 350. I'm going to rewatch the video. Anyway, guys, when I get the bearings, I will be back and install them. Talk to you later.